Hello, my friends. It's Tuesday, late afternoon, about 5 o'clock. It is July 16th, 2024, and we're going to continue drinking our tea and talking about A Course in Miracles. And what I have in mind is um, ideas leave not their source. It's funny how, I can break my study of the Course into eras early on diving in and early on putting it aside. And that lasted quite some time. That lasted well over a decade, actually. Reading lots of books of A Course in Miracles, getting inspired, picking it up, um, having an ego rebellion, although it sunk in a little at a time, but then you have that ego rebellion and you put the book aside for a while. You read more books about the Course in Miracles, you hear people talk about A Course in Miracles, you get inspired, you pick it up again, and the process continues until there comes a time. For me, again, it was well over a decade. It was 2008, so um, maybe 15 years or more since I first started attempting to get through a course. Every attempt was well worth it. It just wasn't the final attempt. And in 2008, 2009, for whatever reason, and lots of reasons, I committed to it and worked my way through it, and I thought I'm done. I've read the text. I've done the lesson a day for 365 days, repeating some, to make sure that it stuck. There I was, and somehow not feeling quite as different as I thought I would, because I hung on to the ego, the concept of the ego throughout. Never truly surrendering, because I don't know if you can until you can. I don't think who are we to surrender the ego? The ego will never surrender the ego. So if you pick up the A Course in Miracles as a self-help attempt, well, then you will close A Course in Miracles with the self intact. What the Course is asking you to do is recognize the ego. And to some extent, that happened. Further along down the pike, down the spirituality pike, continuing with my yoga practice, my meditation practice, my breath work, which really loosens the bonds quite a bit, so that when you next approach, and it's been well over 30 years of meditation practice and yoga practice, and studying the foundation of yoga, the kleshas, the 5 afflictions, which for me really tie very nicely together with A Course in Miracles. At least now they do. So when it came time to pick it back up, because all of a sudden the world felt like a mess, and I realized that my practice of meditation, yoga, the psychology of yoga, very helpful, but none of it was giving me the immediate, it wasn't fulfilling the immediacy of my needs, and those needs were fear. The world's pretty scary right now. Has been for a while. I'm stepping out into some new territory personally, as well as just everything that's going on all through the world, without going into detail. We all know the stuff that's going on. So maybe there's no better reason to pick up the Course in Miracles for the first time or for the last time. Maybe there's no better than just fear itself. And with that being in mind, I'm diving back in, but differently this time. I don't want to get through the workbook and declare myself done. I don't want to be done. I don't want to be done. I just want to keep forgiving, as long as I need to, and be happy with the entire process, the entirety of just forgiving, and just forgiving. So tying this back together to the original thought, although I do like where it was going, but I want to work on that very briefly. Ideas leave not their source, and that, again, different things strike me now that it seemed to have been overlooked before, which is another reason to pick the book up again. Another good reason to never put it down again. Make it your lifestyle. And no one has to know that you're silently, quietly, gently forgiving our projections. And that's the ideas. They leave out their source. That everything I see, all these projections, all that fear, the ideas, their thoughts, and they have not left their source. They're in the mind. I can't treat the effects. I can't treat the ideas that have not left their source. I need to go back to the source itself. And I don't want to make it seem like we're back to this big self-help project, because we're not. We are simply forgiving the illusion, the concept of a separate self that is projecting its fears into the world. We're going back to the source. All of these ideas, we're going back to the source. And even farther, that we are all simply thoughts. You, me, our neighbors, our friends, the person passing us by in traffic, the cashier in front of us, are also ideas in the mind of God, and they have not left their source, and neither have we. So the very concept of being an individual is both correct and mistaken. That it is mistaken because we are not individual entities separate from the source. We are ideas, and we cannot leave our source. But at the same time, it's correct because the true meaning of an individual is undivided. That it's impossible for it to be divided from the whole. We're a unique aspect of the whole, but the whole itself. We have not left our source. We get to be expressed in this wonderful, quirky, fascinating, for some of us slightly awkward, for some of us maybe really awkward, but nevertheless, we are still in the source. And that's the key to forgiveness. I'm seeing you as the source, the same as me. The idea of you, the idea of me, we have not left our source. Therefore, we really don't exist separately. We don't exist as separate entities. We are of and one, the source. So, again, it's funny how some of these things in the past, I feel like I glossed over to get to the next one, the shinier one. But working through some stuff now, it's hitting a little deeper. So we'll just continue. And we'll just continue forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. I got a lifetime to practice. Thanks, guys. Take care.